We changed the will. Carter gets everything, my mom announced coldly. Then Carter can handle the bills, I replied, while canceling every payment. They left me out of their future, so I let their power get cut for a week straight. My name is Amelia. I'm 34 years old, and until lately, I believed my bond with my parents was strong. I never imagined something huge would pop up suddenly, especially not a shocking truth that would turn everything in my life upside down. All through my life, I was taught that family came before anything else. It wasn't just something my parents mentioned now and then. It was a rule in our home. They repeated it again and again, and I truly believed it. It didn't just apply to big days like Christmas or birthdays. It meant always being there. If my parents needed anything, I showed up. When money was tight for them, I helped out. I did my part to be the kind of daughter who always chose family first. Because of all this, I figured that when it came to big choices, like their will or future planning, I'd be included. But I wasn't. It all started one night after I got back from work. Lately, I had been feeling really tired, trying to balance my job, friends, and all the house chores. So when I saw an email from my mom saying she wanted to chat, I didn't think it was a big deal. The email title said important talk, but the message was different. She asked me to come by the next day to go over some family stuff. Of course, I called her right away to ask what was going on. Hey, is everything all right? I asked, trying to ignore the heavy feeling in my chest. She paused. Yeah, all good. Just stop by tomorrow. I said okay, but I couldn't shake the weird feeling inside. Something felt off. The next day, I arrived at my parents' house around noon. My mom met me at the door with her normal friendly face, but something seemed strange. She looked stiff. My dad was on the couch, but he didn't speak much, which was weird for him. We sat down at the kitchen table, and the room felt full of pressure. After a bit of silence, my mom finally spoke. Jess, we have to talk about something serious, she said, sounding a little too calm, like she was getting ready to break bad news. Okay, what is it? I asked. She let out a long breath, glanced at my dad, then looked back at me. We've changed our will, and we've made some choices. For some reason, my heart started pounding. It felt wrong. I tried to keep cool, but I could feel the nerves crawling up my back. What do you mean? Is everything okay? We're just doing what we feel is smart, she said, sounding more firm. We've decided to leave everything to your brother Carter. The air seemed to freeze. Wait, what? What do you mean everything? You're giving it all to Carter? She nodded and didn't look me in the eye. Yes, Jess. We talked about it, and we believe it's the best thing. He's getting the house, the savings, everything we've earned. My thoughts went wild. I couldn't even take it in. I always thought family meant I'd be included. I thought I mattered, too. My mom shook her head. Jess, we've always tried to do right by you. But lately, Carter has been the more steady one. He's around more, and we think it's time to put him first. My hands started to tremble. More steady? Are you serious? I've helped pay bills, brought groceries, and done so much for years. I've always shown up. And Carter, what has he done? My dad finally said something. His voice was softer than normal. Jess, we're just trying to be realistic. Carter's the one who will take over things later on. He has the time and the tools. It just seems like the right move. This doesn't make sense, I said, my voice rising even though I tried to stay calm. I've stood by you both every time. You can't just push me aside like this. There was a quiet stretch, and I could sense the heaviness of their silence. The look on my mother's face seemed a bit regretful, but it wasn't strong enough to comfort me. I stood up quickly, the chair sliding loudly across the ground, and I felt my breathing get faster. I don't understand what's happening with you both, I said, but this isn't what being family means. As I turned to go, I heard my father say, Jess, please give it some thought. But I didn't want to think. I was burning with anger. My mind was spinning, and I had no idea how to deal with all the emotions building up inside me. How could they treat me this way? How could they turn their backs after everything I'd done? For the next several weeks, I couldn't stop thinking that something felt wrong. I kept replaying the will in my mind, how they gave everything to Carter, and how they acted like it didn't matter. It felt like I'd been betrayed. That's when I decided to do something. At first, it wasn't about getting back at them. It was about standing my ground, about proving that I wasn't going to accept being treated this way. I had been covering some of their expenses, paying for things like electricity and water, and I realized I wasn't going to keep helping if they had no place for me in their plans. So I quit. I stopped paying their bills. I thought, if they no longer cared about me, then why should I worry about their lights staying on? A month went by. I didn't hear much from them, just short texts asking how I was. Nothing personal, nothing that felt like they were sorry. Then one afternoon, I got a message from my mom. Why is the power off? My heart started racing the moment I saw those words. I felt a strange mix of relief and guilt. My decision had hit them, but at the same time, I felt a cold knot in my stomach. Is this what I really wanted? Did I want them to feel what I felt? Did I want to see them struggle? I didn't answer right away. I stared at the screen for a long time, the message blinking. waiting for me to respond. Finally, I typed, I thought Carter was taking care of everything. Maybe you should talk to him. Then I put my phone down and let the silence grow between us. I didn't know what would happen next, but for the first time in a long while, I felt like I had taken back control. The following days moved slowly, each one dragging along as I waited for what would come next. I kept repeating that day in my mind, wondering if I had made the right call. Part of me felt like apologizing or explaining more clearly, but then I'd remember what they said, that I wasn't part of their future, and I'd get mad all over again. The truth, I was wounded. I was upset, and most of all, I was finished being the one who always had to care first. The silence was loud. A few days later, I sat on the sofa, scrolling on my phone, when another message from my mom came in. This time, it was longer. Amelia, this has gone too far. We should talk. I don't know why you're doing this. We're your parents. You can't treat us like this. I didn't wait. My hands floated above the screen, and then I typed, maybe you should have thought about that before leaving me out. I'm not the one who owes an explanation. I placed the phone down. The weight of my reply hit me. My hands were shaking, but I couldn't take it back now. It was done. Another few days passed. My phone stayed silent. No new messages. No calls, no one trying to make things right. It felt like they had stopped trying, but still, I waited. A part of me believed they couldn't just let me go without fixing things. Then on a Thursday evening, my phone buzzed. I didn't need to look. I already knew. My mother's name was glowing on the screen. My heartbeat pounded in my chest, but I slowly inhaled and picked up the call. Hi, Amelia, my mother began, her tone soft and low. I'm not sure what you expect from us, but we're your family. We've always tried to do what's right for you, even if it wasn't what you wanted. Her words shook slightly, and for a moment, I felt a bit of sympathy, but I quickly shut that down. This was the same person who told me I wasn't trustworthy enough to be given anything. I wasn't going to fall for that again. I'm not asking for anything, Mom. You decided what you wanted, and so did I. You've already shown me where I stand, so don't count on me to keep fixing your problem. The silence on her side of the line felt heavier than anything she might have said. For a while, we both stayed quiet. Then at last, she spoke. Please come home. We should speak face to face. I felt the pressure of her words close in around me. A part of me wanted to give in, to go back and patch things up, but I couldn't. Not while I was still so upset. Not when everything felt like a trick. I'll think about it, I replied, then quickly ended the call. The talk had shaken me up, but I wasn't going to let it change my decision. I was done being the one who always cared more. It was their turn to take responsibility. The following day, my phone vibrated again. A new message from my mom, this time one that hit harder. I talked to Carter. He's feeling hurt too. He said he never asked for this. He's just doing what we told him. I looked at the text for what seemed like forever. Carter? Hurt? Was this for real? My brother and I were never close. It had been years since we connected. He had always been the favorite, the one who never did anything wrong. And now, out of nowhere, he was hurt. I couldn't tell if it was true or if this was just another attempt to make me give in. I didn't know anymore. I tossed my phone aside, more confused than I'd been in weeks. My thoughts spun wildly, trying to understand if there was any truth in her words. Carter? Upset? I couldn't even imagine that. That afternoon, I went for a long walk. I needed to clear my head. The sun hung low, throwing long lines across the pavement, but I didn't feel its heat. My thoughts were cold, swirling like a storm I couldn't stop. Then another message arrived, but it wasn't from my mother. It was from Carter. Jess, can we have a talk? I stopped in my tracks. The phone buzzed like it had pulled me in. My heart sped up again, though I didn't understand why. Part of me wanted to ignore him, to let the quiet continue, but another part wondered if this was the moment I'd been hoping for. Maybe Carter really did feel bad. Maybe he didn't agree with how our parents treated me. So even though I wasn't sure it was smart, I replied quickly, "What do you want to say?" His answer came right away. "I don't want to fight. Can we meet and fix this?" I held my finger above the screen, unsure. Could I believe him? Could we really talk without it falling apart? I kept walking. Each step gave me a little more calm. I stared down at the phone. I felt like I was about to decide something huge, something that could change everything. Then another message came in. "It's not just about the will, Jess. It's everything. I think you've been treated wrongly, and I'm sorry." Those were the words I'd waited so long to hear, but now things felt even harder. What was I supposed to do? Should I see him? Should I take the chance? Was this a turning point, or just more pain waiting to happen? I stood still, looking at the screen. My thoughts raced. Everything felt like it was about to shift, but I didn't know which way it would go. I remained still, gripping my phone tightly, feeling the pressure of Carter's message sink into me. A storm of feelings swirled inside, but deep down I felt an intense need to finally speak my truth, to take back my voice. I glanced at his text for a few more moments, then responded, doing my best to stay cool, even though I was full of emotion. All right, let's meet, I wrote. But I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing this for myself. Moments later, Carter sent the details. A nearby coffee shop we used to visit when we were younger. It was close to where I lived, but instead of feeling warmth or happy memories, I felt nervous. What if this was just another trick? What if he only wanted to blame me for standing my ground? I pushed away those fears. This wasn't about shame. It was about fairness. It was about standing strong. I refused to be controlled ever again. I reached the cafe earlier than planned, trying to calm my thoughts. The space was quiet, with golden sunlight pouring through the windows. I picked a seat in the back and tapped the table nervously with my fingers. Time seemed to move slowly, but I didn't check my phone. I wasn't going to obsess over the clock. I was in charge now, not them. Eventually, Carter arrived. He looked changed, gentler. Not the arrogant favorite I had known for years, but someone tired, someone carrying something heavy. I could see it in his face and the way he stood. He wasn't the villain anymore. He looked like someone caught in a mess too. I motioned for him to sit. He pulled the chair back slowly, then began to talk. "Jess," he said, his voice quieter than I'd ever heard. "I'm sorry. I didn't know how bad it was. I didn't understand, not until recently." I gave him a small nod, but my head was spinning. This was the moment I needed to stay firm, not let emotion win. "You didn't know? Or you just didn't care?" I asked, my tone strong and clear. "You've always had it easy. You never had to struggle, and I was the one left to deal with everything. Always behind, always forgotten." His cheeks turned red, and I could tell he felt ashamed. "I didn't look at it that way, Jess, but now I see. They didn't appreciate you, and I never stepped in to help." I stared at him quietly, trying to figure out if he meant what he said. His voice felt honest, but it couldn't erase the past. It couldn't fix the pain. "You're right. You never helped. Neither did Mom. Neither did Dad," I said. Then I looked straight into his eyes. "But you know what? I'm finished. Done giving everything. Done cleaning up their messes. I'm taking charge of my life." Carter looked confused. "What are you saying?" I took a steady breath, then dropped the truth. "I already stopped. The payments, I'm not sending them anymore. I haven't paid a single bill since I found out about their decision. No lights, no water, no heat. If they want comfort, they can manage on their own." His face went pale. "You're not serious. They'll be angry?" I interrupted. "They already are. But this time, it's not my problem. I'm tired of being ignored. If they want help, they can treat me with respect. If not, they can face the consequences." Carter leaned back, shocked. "You're actually doing this?" "Yes," I replied firmly. My words left no space for doubt. "And if you want to stay on their good side, that's up to you. But I'm done playing the nice daughter. They don't get to use me anymore." We sat there in silence for a few seconds. My words hung heavy in the room. Finally, Carter broke the stillness, speaking softly. "I'm not sure I can do that, Jess. I'm still trying to figure out where I belong in all this." I nodded. "I understand, but you should hear this. This isn't only about the money. It's about being strong. It's about not letting them control your life. You've let them steer the story for too long. Now's the time to change that." He looked down at his hands, unsure what to say. I could tell he was struggling with everything I had just told him, but that didn't matter, because this moment wasn't about him anymore. This was about me. I got up from my seat, a strong feeling of courage rising inside me. "I've made up my mind, Carter. You have to decide for yourself now. I'm not returning to fix their problems this time." After saying that, I turned around and left the coffee shop, leaving Carter sitting there, deep in thought. My heart was racing, but a calm feeling spread through me. I had done what I needed to do. I had taken charge of my choices at last. No more blame, no more control. It felt strong. It felt fair. As I walked back to my place, my phone vibrated again. It was another message, this one from my mother. "Amelia, why don't we have power? What's happening? You must handle this. We're your family. We can't live like this." I read the text, and a small grin formed on my face. This was the point I had been waiting for. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I shut off my phone and slid it into my jacket pocket. I was finished, and for the first time in a very long time, I felt like I could breathe. The days that came afterward were chaotic. I felt the pressure increase with each phone call, each message, and every subtle insult sent by my parents. But I didn't move. I stood firm. They tried everything, from emotional tricks to offering me old dreams I no longer cared about. One night, 7 days after I had spoken with Carter, a message arrived. It wasn't Carter. It was my mom again, her words more desperate than ever. "Amelia, we have to speak. We can't continue like this. Your dad and I might lose our home unless you help us. Please." I could feel my anger rising. My chest tightened. I breathed deeply, but this time, I wouldn't let their games pull me in. Not anymore. I opened my phone and typed a short, firm message. "I'm sorry you're dealing with this, but I'm not here to save you anymore. You had many chances to act differently and didn't. I'm done. I hesitated for a moment before sending it. My fingers floated over the screen, but I had made up my mind. I pressed send. The phone stayed silent for a while. The following day, I learned my parents had contacted Carter, pleading with him to talk me into helping, but he didn't, not this time. Instead, he texted me first. Hey, I think you made the right call, but it's rough. Feels like everyone's losing something. I didn't know what to text back, but deep inside, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't losing anything that hadn't already been taken from me long ago. The only thing that had changed was that now I was in charge. Now I wasn't the one always fixing everything. 7 days had passed when I received another phone call, this time from my mother again. Her voice sounded more panicked than before. The payments hadn't been made. Their lights had been turned off for several days. Now they were finally starting to feel the consequences of what they had done. But instead of saying they were sorry, instead of admitting how unfairly they had treated me, they still tried to shame me. They continued twisting the situation to make me feel like I was at fault. But I didn't break. I didn't step in. I didn't say sorry for anything I decided. You can handle it yourselves. You'll sort it out. The same way I had to when no one helped me, I said, keeping my tone calm even though my chest was tight. There was nothing but silence on the other side, until at last she said, her voice shaking with anger, I don't know who you are anymore, Amelia. I breathed out slowly and felt calm for the first time. That was when it hit me. This whole thing was never about getting them to understand me. It was about me finally understanding myself and taking back my life. Another week went by. Their power was still disconnected, and I was completely fine with that. I wasn't mad anymore. I didn't feel like I had to explain my actions. I didn't feel like I owed anyone anything. For the first time in many years, I felt truly free. I no longer had to carry the weight of their needs. I no longer felt like my happiness needed to be traded for theirs. I'm not totally sure what happened to them after that. Maybe they found some last-minute way to pay their bills, like they always do when things fall apart. But this time, I wasn't involved in their plan, and I was at peace with that. So here I am. I don't regret what I did. Not even a little. Yes, it was painful. At times, I wondered if I was being selfish, if I was wrong. But it turned out to be the smartest choice I've ever made. This is my path, my decisions, my future. And for once in my life, I picked me. So Reddit, what's your opinion? Did I push it too far? Or was it finally the right moment to stop letting others treat me like I didn't matter? Let me know your thoughts.